Today I'm going to show you how I take these 4 Kirkland fall decor and making them my own, all on a budget. So stay tuned. We are going to begin with this beautiful Hello Pumpkin sign that is black and white, and it has these little pumpkins that have brown on it, and I just think it's just super adorable. All right, friend, so here's the board that I'm going to use to create that Hello Pumpkin sign from Kirkland's. And it's a lot larger than what I was anticipating. I found this just like this, the same size and everything in the scrap wood area at the hardware store. So I took this Dollar Tree little wooden pumpkin that you can get them. You've probably seen them. And I'm just going to trace it on foam core from the Dollar Tree. And then I know it's going to be way too big because the pumpkins are smaller on the original inspiration decor. So I'm just going to trace right under, about an inch under that pumpkin so that I can cut a smaller pumpkin but still have the pumpkin look. Here's the thing. It was still too large. As a matter of fact, it was still too large like 3 times. This pumpkin went from bigger to smaller to smaller to smaller. I kid you not. It was kind of comical. Look at this. I keep going smaller and smaller. I guess I didn't realize either how big the pumpkin was or how many letters pumpkin actually had in it. I don't know. Nonetheless, I finally got a size that worked, and now I'm going to use that original pumpkin and just trace and cut out 7 more. That way we have 8. I know it's 1 extra ones, but you just never know if I'm going to mess up one of them. So I'd like to have an extra one. I sanded down the board, and now I'm going to give it 2 coats of Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the linen white. For the foam pumpkins, I am going to kind of flip them. Some of them are going to be looking one way and then some looking the other way, just in a random way. And I am going to give in 1 coat of Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the linen white just to brighten it up. And then I am going to take the board that is now dry and I am going to tape a kind of like a border. The original had an actual frame around it. I did not have the materials for it, so we're just going to make it look or give it the illusion that it has a frame. So I taped it all around, left about 1/4 of an inch to maybe an inch. And now I am going to paint the border as well as the edges using Waverly chalk paint in the ink, which is a very, very dark black. I don't know what it is about removing tape that is so satisfying. All right, so onto the pumpkins. Now they're dry. I am going to take some of this brown and I'm just going to start shading them. The original inspiration from Kirkland had kind of like this look. So I am going to shade all around the edges and then, of course, add some details in the center of the pumpkins to make them look a little bit more like pumpkins. And I'm going to try to do all of them a little bit different, but still very similar. And now I am going to write the word pumpkin, and I'm just going to just freehanded. I thought about using my Cricut, but I thought, hey, what's the fun in that? No, it wasn't. Their original looked like they were hand, written. So I just thought, let me just try it. It worked out well. So again, pumpkin, I did have an extra little pumpkin because everything turned out pretty well. But nonetheless, we'll leave that for another project. I did, however, use my Cricut to cut out the hello because I am not that talented. My Cricut does it for me. So I just used a permanent black glossy. It's just what I had on hand. I would have preferred matte, but we use what we have, right? So now it's time to attach all the pumpkins, and I'm literally just going to hot glue them. They're made out of foam core, so they'll stick. They're not heavy. They're not going to go anywhere. And we're just about done. I did add a couple sawtooth hooks on the back, and let me remind you what the original looked like. And then this is what mine looks like. I'm actually pretty satisfied. This board was 25 cents. The pumpkins were made out of foam core, which was $1. And of course, just a little bit of paint and a little bit of vinyl, and that's it. Love it. For the next inspiration, we're going to take this Kirkland stacked pumpkin with a little tag that says Happy Fall. So we're going to start with some foam core again here from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to freehand the pumpkins. I don't mind. I actually enjoy this, just freehanding painting. If you follow me for a while, you know that every so often I like to create my own art. So this one was actually very satisfying for me and very entertaining, and I found it very relaxing as well. But I'm just going to let you watch here as I paint away, and hopefully you'll find it satisfying and enjoyable and entertaining. And then I'll chime in here and there. But I do want to let you know that this particular inspiration one from Kirkland was actually one that I was challenged by my friend Adrian from Inspired by Adrian on YouTube. If you do not know who she is extremely talented. We have become friends on Instagram, and I just love her. So check her out. I am going to have her link down below. And we're just about done with the pumpkin. We just have to do the stem here. I'm going to use some brown acrylic paint and just paint it. I did have to cut off a little bit of the stem a little bit later. I don't show it because it didn't fit in my little frame that I created for it. And I'll show you how I made that frame. But I am going to use some of the white here and just add a few little details just to kind of mimic a little bit more of the original one. And then I'm going to make these little like curls that it had with brown paint. And I'm just going to go one on each side like the original piece had. And now it's time to start creating a frame for the sign, for the pumpkins, as the original had it. And I'm just going to use some of these painter sticks. These are the 25-gallon ones. And I'm just going to cut them to size to fit the pumpkin. And like I said, I cut it just a little too small where the little stem didn't fit quite perfectly. But that was okay. I made it work. So once I had all the pieces for the frame cut, I'm just going to staple them on the back side. So this is going to be the side where I have all the measuring kind of ruler thing. And this, because we're going to hot glue it facing down. So once I have the frame nicely done, then I'm going to use the frame and trace it on some foam board. And that's what we're going to use for the backing of the frame. Once I have it traced, I'll cut it with the X-Acto knife. Just like the original piece, it had a buffalo check black and white background. Now, it's not exactly the same one I have, but this is what I had already on hand from Hobby Lobby. So I'm just going to hot glue it on the edges and cover the back. And then I'm going to use the rotary cutter and cut out the excess fabric so it's nicely trimmed. And now I am going to hot glue the frame right on top of the buffalo check background. And that's going to be sufficient again because it is foam core and it's really lightweight. So hot glue was plenty. Now I'm going to hot glue the pumpkin right inside of it. Again, just using hot glue, which was fine. And then we're going to add a few little extra details. The original piece had a tag that said Happy Fall, so I had this one that I happened to have purchased recently at Walmart. It was maybe about $1.50, something like that. It was not expensive at all. And I painted it white. While that's drying, I am going to freehand a little multiple loop bow using some jute string, like the original had as well. And I'm just going to tie it in the center. And then we're going to start writing, actually lining here, the tag just like the original had, like a little black border. So I'm just going to line the tag here, making it seem like a border. And then I'm going to freehand the words Happy Fall, just like the original piece had. And now it's time to attach it to the pumpkins. I'm just basically going to cut the excess string. I'm going to add some hot glue behind the stem, and I'm just going to push in the jute string right underneath it, and it'll attach perfectly. And it's going to look like it's hanging from the stem of the pumpkin. And after that, we are done, my friend. Oh my gosh, this one is one of my favorites today. Let me remind you what the original looked like. Beautiful, beautiful. And this is mine. I don't know, but I'm pretty proud of myself. I rarely say that, but when I do, it's because I really mean it. I had so much fun painting these pumpkins and creating all these shadows and the illusion of a stacked pumpkin set. I really love the way it turned out. So thank you, Adrian, for challenging me. The next piece that I'm going to use from Kirkland is this I Love Fall Most of All sign. This one was actually challenged by my friend Lisa from Lisa and Company. If you do not know her, she is also extremely talented. She has a YouTube channel filled with tons of inspiration. So if you do not know her, I too will have that link down below for you. All right, so moving along here. So I took an 8x11 canvas board from the Dollar Tree and I gave it one coat of Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the linen white. While that is drying, I am going to take this faux leather leaf and I'm going to use it as a guide. I traced over it, but maybe about a ½ inch wider than what the original leaf had. This buffalo check has like all the fall colors that are beautiful. So it's not the exact same as the original piece, but again, it's what I had on hand. I got this at Hobby Lobby. So once I had the leaf traced, I'm just going to cut it very patiently until I have the leaf. We're going to do the same thing that we did with the first piece. We're going to create the illusion of a frame. I'm going to use some painter's tape again, and I'm going to create a frame with about a 1/2 inch thickness, and then we're going to paint it using Waverly chalk paint and the moss. The original piece has some distressing, kind of like falling from the top and the bottom. So I'm going to create kind of a similar look to it using Antiquing Wax by Waverly and a chippy brush. And I'm just going to do that until I am satisfied, but not add too much because the original piece didn't have a lot. It was more of a detail than anything else. And then it's time to attach the leaf. And I'm just going to do it with some hot glue. Using my Cricut, I cut out the phrase "I love fall most of all." I tried my very best to mimic the same font style as the original piece from Kirkland. And I am going to stencil it using a makeup sponge and Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the Country Gray. That did not take long. So once it was dry, did you see that cap fly? Oh my God. Anyway, so I removed the vinyl, and once it was dry, it was beautiful. Let me remind you what the original piece looked like. And this is what mine looks like. Ah, such beautiful colors. I love the inspiration one. It's absolutely stunning from Kirkland's. But, you know, creating your own sometimes is very satisfying. So I love it. Thank you, Lisa, for challenging me with this one. For the next one, I got inspired by this wreath from Kirkland's. It's beautiful. It's on the simple side, which is my cup of tea. I already had this wreath that I recently updated in my guest bathroom. I'm going to remove some of the decors that I had placed on it. I'm just going to keep the eucalyptus leaves on it. And I actually happen to have this pick from Walmart that had eucalyptus leaves on it. And I thought how perfect to make this wreath form a little fuller. So what I'm going to do is I cut out all the branches off of the pick, and I'm going to hot glue them all around the wreath, just giving the illusion that this wreath form is a lot fuller than what it actually is. This little baby's breaths I get on Amazon, and I had one pick left, and I'm just going to cut out some of the branches, and actually 3 to be exact, and I'm just going to hot glue them in separate places of the wreath, making sure that they're nicely even separated. The original piece had a similar baby's breath on it, so I wanted to mimic that. And then, of course, I took some faux pumpkins from a Dollar Tree pick that I recently got at Dollar Tree, cut out 3 pumpkins like the original piece had, and hot glue them separately all around the wreath. And we're just about done with this one. It was one of the easiest ones that I had. This one was actually one that inspired me, but I want to show you what the original looked like. It's beautiful. And now I'm going to show you what mine looks like. I think it's beautiful too. if you ask me. I love this challenge. I love the fact that we get to see these beautiful high-end decor from stores and we can actually use our creativity to create our own. I want to thank Lisa and Adrian for coming along with me on this Kirkland dupe challenge. And if again, I'm going to remind you that I do have both their channels linked down below for you to take a look at their inspirations and their challenges, because I challenged them both on APs as well, and that'll be fun for you to watch. If you're visiting for the first time, thank you so much for coming by. I hope you enjoy the video and I hope you consider joining our YouTube family. And if you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. I have a playlist here with tons more of inspiration for you. Check it out if you have some time. I'll see you later and have a blessed day. Bye.